Okay, so a bit over 3 years ago, I made this video. To this day, it remains one of my most annoying challenge runs I've ever done, so the 13-year-old me that made it did not plan on making another one. Until June 2024, that is, apparently, when for some reason I did 2-1 and 2-2. The recordings for them proceeded to sit in a USB for almost a year until I remembered to upload them to my video dump in 2025. When uploading those, however, I wrote down NSMB Wii 4P1C World 2 into my videos list, and then did nothing with it until March when I did 2-3, and then this week when I did the rest of the world. So here's my second video in a row now that's a sequel to a video from 2023. Let's start. 2-1 is the perfect level to use to showcase what our strat for doing these levels is going to look like. While most of World 1 is doable without any save states, hell, even 13-year-old me only used them for the castle, World 2 ramps up the number of enemies in pits way up, so our only hope for keeping all players alive is to bunch them together and use propellers. Running 4 people next to one another causes them to desync, same with turning around, so propellers are our only hope, really. Because propellers are our only hope, as soon as someone loses their propeller, it's over. This is where save states come into play. Because of how precise stuff later will get, it's better to save state around 2 times per level, because otherwise we'd have to keep going back to 1-1 to get propellers and come back, which is just a gigantic waste of time. 2-1 is one of the tamest levels here because all the surfaces are flat, there's no desync with slopes or moving platforms, just nothing. I save stated at the checkpoint only and then beat it relatively quickly. 2-2 is one of the 2 levels here that's beatable without a propeller. The spikes pretty much make it impossible to stay in one place and align the players to propellers, so a fire flower works way better here. There's also very few pits in this level, so we don't have to worry too much about that. The biggest worry is having one player be small and therefore vulnerable to random spike balls. Overall, probably harder than 2-1, but also not that bad in the grand scheme of things. 2-3 is the other level that's beatable without a propeller, but my god is it hard. This is where the difficulty ramps up a lot. Piranha Plant Fire makes propellers actually unfavorable here in comparison to a fire flower, so I went with those instead. Even then, I managed to survive most of the level with Luigi small and in the lead, then with 3 players small after the checkpoint. Taking it slow and steady is absolutely the key here. Deal with as many piranha plants as possible before going to do the platforming, because if one of the players gets hit, they stop moving for a bit and desync, so, you know, that sucks. Even with all that, it's still not the hardest level in this half of the world. That honor goes to 2 Tower. The verticality of this level is a giant disadvantage. It might seem like a blessing because the propeller is a vertical power-up, but then you remember you can't lose it and that it's basically shooting you upwards really quickly whenever you use it. Because I have no way of gauging where the dry bones above me are, I ended up spending way longer than I thought trying to get through the first quarter of the level because it kept propelling straight into a dry bone. The second quarter onwards introduces the random-ass magic beams just to make sure that you can't sit still for too long, which only makes the last bit before Roy even harder. There's barely enough room to dodge everything in this level, but the chain link fences do admittedly help with avoiding desync. Roy himself is really easy, thankfully, which means we can move on to the second half of the world. 2-4 is one of the easiest levels here. The wind is your best friend, and the level also is just really open in general. As long as you don't fall onto a piranha plant or something of the sorts, you should be out within a couple of tries. The ending is a bit sketchy, but the game is kind enough to provide a place to stall out the Koopas at the end. Just nice and simple level. 2-5 on the other hand is hell. This level and 2-6 combined took me way more than the entire rest of the world. The reason this level sucks so bad can be explained in one single word: Lakitu. Lakitu is basically complete RNG. The only reason I even managed to do this level is because you're provided with Yoshis, which are basically infinite hit points as long as you climb back onto him relatively quickly. He's also the only way to get rid of Lakitu reliably. You can't use the cloud because desync, obviously, but simply getting rid of him increases our propeller keeping chances by a lot. I really cannot give strats for this level, honestly. I just kind of brute forced my way through it, and after 50 tries made it through. Easily the single worst level of this world. 2-6 gives it a run for its money though. This level, instead of being more about pure RNG, it is about pure precision. The gaps you have to make between these Koopas at the very beginning of the level make up 80% of its difficulty. I'm not kidding. The spinning cube desyncs and also resyncs your players, so it's both an advantage and a disadvantage depending on the section, but for these Koopas it's a disadvantage and a big one. Landing on these moving blocks is really precise because of course it is, and thankfully after that you're pretty much home free. After collecting the checkpoint, the only hard part remaining is luring the flame chomp out of your area so it doesn't explode in your face. Once again, ridiculously difficult level, but at least it's not overly luck-based. Finally, 2 Castle is a break from all the bullshit we've just endured. We don't need to keep our propeller past the first pickup path, so damage boosting is an option for the piranha plants after, which is just a godsend. I was scared I'd have to do some really precise platforming with the dry bones and P-switch here, but there's platforms above so we can just use those. Roy is once again really easy, and that's World 2 done. Tune back in 3 years from now when I do World 3. Seriously though, I'm not doing more worlds of this, please don't ask me. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.